All right, riding home, spring practice, part 2. This is the second edition of spring practice riding homes. We got one last week. Didn't quite get our 15 minutes this time around, but I do have a roster with some updated numbers, some heights and weights. I think that answers some of your questions. I'll try not to ruffle this paper around. I got my notes. Look, I want to preface this, and it's the same thing. Look, the story's on dogpost.com. The written version of this is on dogpost.com, and I want to stress this. I can't see everything. I can't, sometimes what they present to us, I can't discern a depth chart or an order. So this is just, what I see, what I can make observations and inferences off of. Look, quarterbacks, it's what is driving a lot of the offseason conversation as far as on the field goes for the Georgia Bulldogs. Carson Beck, Brock Vandagriff, Gunnar Stockton, Stetson Bennett's not around. But those three guys are. Those are all high 4-star. I believe Brock Vandagriff is a low 5-star guy. Those were all high 4-star players. And look, Kirby said last week that Brock Vandagriff is also going to rep with the ones. It's not just Carson Beck. Carson Beck has not been named the starting quarterback. I believe that Carson Beck will be the starting quarterback, and I believe he's in the lead to have that spot as his. And it's evident in just the drills we get to see. Unless, and this is not, it wouldn't be the first time where Kirby just showed us what he wanted to show us to throw us off. But I'm coming in here, Carson is going first. It's Carson, and then it's Gunnar, it's Carson, Brock, then Gunnar. That's the order that we're seeing over and over. Carson, Brock, Gunnar. And that's the order I expect. It's just what I expect to be the quarterback order. And so I'm not a football genius, right? But I've watched a lot of football, and Carson is the smoothest. Smooth is the way I want to describe the way to compare Carson Beck and between the two. I think that Carson is just the smoothest. I think you see my reflection. Carson on the run looks smoother. He looks more confident. He has been in the system longer. He just looks more comfortable out there. He's having more one-on-one conversations with Mike Bobo in the times that we get to watch. I think that matters. I'm seeing a tiny percentage of what they do, a tiny sliver of the pie. So, but I've watched the Georgia Bulldogs play football very closely the last 2 years, and Carson has been higher on the depth chart than Brock Vandagriff, and I don't think that's changed. I think it's going to take a real showing of talent and improvement. And I'm not saying that Brock Vandagriff's a bad player. He's not. He was a high 4-star, low 5-star. I think it depended on who you asked. Athens guy, very mobile, just cannon of an arm. To me, Carson Beck is more crisp of a passer. He looks more comfortable. And I think Gunnar is just further behind, and it's not Gunnar's fault. He's younger. I think that's where we're at. Running backs, Dejan Edwards was out there this time. He was going after Branson in drill, so this time it was Kendall first, Branson second again. So I don't know what Dejan was maybe dealing with last week, why he wasn't doing the drills when we watched, but I didn't see any sort of limitation from him. But it does look like just in drills that Branson might be higher on the depth chart than him. I'm not 100% sure. I think, and I'm not done with the running back conversation, but I think this is a year where if you're Kendall Milton, I think that there was a lot of hype when you came in. There was a lot of hype your freshman year when there were some moments. You broke some tackles. You're this big running back. You're really hyped up. You're coming from California. You're a 4-star running back. And the breakouts never happen, right? And this is his best opportunity. And obviously, he is I think RB1. I think that he is I think he'll have the most carries. He's got to stay on the field. It feels like he's had some nicks and dings, but he's got to stay on the field. But I think he's RB1, and I think that Branson is my favorite just from a talent standpoint. I think that Branson is the most talented of them. I just do, physically, and he's really short, right? But he's an impressive physical talent. Dejan is going to get it. He's going to get his, right? All three of those guys are going to get theirs, and that's the point. But this is Kendall's opportunity, right? I think that people, if they haven't realized now, they're going to realize how important Kenny McIntosh was, and that's all I have to say. A running back that dynamic, they don't come around very often. As far as, I had a question on the message board from Dog Post about Roderick Robinson. What they gave us, they have him listed at, this is a freshman running back from California. What they gave us has him listed at 6 foot 235. Where are the other running backs listed at? Kendall Milton's listed at 6'1", 220. Branson Robinson is listed at 5'10", 220. Dejan Edwards is listed at 5'10", 201. So we're talking about Roderick Robinson, 6 foot 235, 15 pounds heavier than Kendall Milton and Branson Robinson. His upper body is huge, just from what I watched out there. He was going fifth in drills. Andrew Paul's out there. He's running with a brace. Kirby said he's not available for the spring, so I'm a little confused, I guess. Because he's out there, at least in drills, so maybe he's just not going to scrimmage. I'm unsure about the Andrew Paul thing. Got a brace on the right knee. It's not a super complicated brace and like leg sleeve and all that, just a brace. But he was doing all sorts of drills, and he's kind of working as the RB4. Roderick working as the RB5. They will both get touches, right? If they're both healthy and available, they will both get touches in those blowouts. It will happen. But those three guys is their three-headed monster. I don't know if I want to call it a three-headed monster, but Kendall, Dejan. Maybe I spent too much time on the running backs. Wide receivers, I don't think there's too much to report. We didn't get to watch a lot of throwing today. Like, it was mostly to the tight ends what I got to watch. Wide receivers, though, it was the same as last week as far as depth chart order. Like, the depth chart's not finalized. But that group one, the starters, quote-unquote, Arian Smith, Lab McConkey, Marcus Jackson. And I expect those to be the three of the four guys out there the most. Dominic Lovett's in that second group with Dylan Bell and 18, who is, I believe, CJ Smith. I don't want to get that wrong. CJ Smith. He's going to be a redshirt freshman. 6'3", 175, really fast. Dropped a really easy ball today, CJ Smith did. I don't remember who it was from, but he dropped a really easy ball. Raro Thomas dropped a really easy ball, I believe, from Brock Vandegrift. And, they got in his grill about it. They yelled at him about it. That's what happens when you drop a ball and you're a receiver. He was working with the fours again. So someone asked if he was still in the doghouse. Raro Thomas was working with the fours again. I thought that was interesting. This is the way I do my practice reports, and I go down the list. So that's kind of what I'm doing now verbally, and the written version's on the website, dogpost.com. Double Dogs, Red Zone, newsletter, DoorDash, links below. And make sure you're hitting the subscribe button. I don't know why we don't tell you that. If you haven't already subscribed, I don't know, you're not competing. So, 13 is Zeed Haynes. He's a freshman receiver. He was limping today. I don't know what it was, but something with his legs, just all of a sudden he was limping. So, something to keep an eye on. I don't think it was anything serious. So, the offensive lineman in the spring, it's tough, right? So, we'll know way more in the fall about depth chart order, but it's impossible for me to discern a true depth chart off what we see. There are groups of random threes and everything. Now, I will say, and I don't know the names of these drills, but they were doing groups of three where they're just kind of doing run block stuff. Ernest Green's in those first two groups. I think it's Ernest Green is going to be that fifth guy. I would be completely shocked if Amarius Mims is not one of the starting tackles. We know what we got in the middle, right? You know what you're dealing with. You've got Cedric Van Pran in the middle, and you're going to have Ratledge and Truss, right? Those are your guards. Mims is going to be one of the tackles, and it looks like Ernest Green. He looks good. He looks big. He looks athletic. Obviously dealing with injuries last year. But they've got a lot of guys. But I think it's going to be Ernest. I think so, right? Can't discern too much from the drills. The other two groups that you can't discern too much from the drills is, well, really most of the defense is hard, guys. But outside linebacker, I tell you what. I like this Mpemba guy. I like this freshman, Mpemba. He looks like he has burst and explosion. And they've got him listed. He's wearing number 26. They've got him listed at 6'3", 245. What do they got Chaz Chambliss listed at? Because this is my point of reference. Chaz Chambliss looks small, like noticeably the smallest out of the group of the outside linebackers. Chaz Chambliss is listed at 6'2", 250. They've got Mpemba at 6'3", 245. I guess, I mean, thinness-wise, they were very similar. Right? Chaz is a little shorter, and they've got Chaz listed at 5 pounds heavier. And Mpemba, I think, is going to be kind of a speed guy off the edge. That's more of a Matt question. He knows more about these incoming freshmen, but just from watching Mpemba in drills, I think keep an eye on him as a freshman that will be a contributor, especially because I think that that's their thinnest group, is the outside linebacker position. I do. I think this is their thinnest group. I think that you're losing Nolan Smith and Robert Beal. You don't have Marvin Jones. You don't have Marvin Jones Jr., who I think is going to be a starter next year. Obviously, he's not out there right now. He's dealing with injury during the spring. And I think that, sorry, I'm sick. I'm out here grinding. Dean's on vacation. I'm out here grinding, sick, doing everything. Come on, man, be a competitor. And, I'm assuming the starters are going to be Marvin Jones and Chaz Chambliss. I think this is what's going to be. And Mpemba will play a lot, is my guess. I think just watch out for Mpemba. And Gabe Harris. He's also a freshman, number 29. Those guys, he's bigger. He's 6'4". He's noticeably bigger. So I think you should be excited about those freshmen offensive linemen. They're listed at, Mpemba's wearing 26, and Gabe Harris is wearing 29 for now. Jarvis Jones' old number as an outside linebacker, so we'll see how that goes. Big shoes to fill with that number, but be excited about those freshmen. There's some burst to them. D-line. What I notice a lot, Micah Williams is always first in drills, and he is their most talented defensive lineman. But he's always going to be first in those drills. And I think across the line, what you're going to see is you're going to see Micah Williams. If it's the three guys, I think it's going to be Michael, Nazir, and probably Logue. I think Warren Brinson's going to play a good bit. I think Bear Alexander is going to play a lot. Your two interior guys, who are your two best interior guys, are Bear Alexander and Nazir Stackhouse, right? But Michael Williams, I think that he could take a big jump this year. I really do. It looks like he's taking a leadership role out there. Middle linebackers, I think they're the furthest away, and I didn't bring the camera in there when you can, but Pop is slower than, I think he seems less twitchy. He seems a little bit slower than these other guys that are going to play. He's obviously, he was a Butkus finalist, I think. He was an All-American. I think that Smile Munden is the best linebacker they have. I think that him and Pop together is a great duo. It's interesting to me that Pop is so pretty. I think that tells a lot about Pop's instincts for the ball. That he seems to be less athletic than Ryan Davis. Less athletic than Raylan Wilson, who looks really athletic. A freshman as well, inside linebacker. He's wearing number 5 for now. I think it says a lot. So he just looks less twitchy. And there's not really another way to put it. But this is an athletic linebacker group. Xavier Sorey. It's hard for me to tell what the order is, but if I'm Xavier Sorey and Ryan Davis, I'm worried about Raylan Wilson as a fresh. I'm worried about Raylan Wilson if I'm one of those guys. Just saying. Because your second group of inside guys is probably Jalen Walker's a combo guy, right? I think Jalen Walker's going to be on the field a lot because he can play inside and out, and they've proven that with him. So I don't really consider him either. He's a kind of like a mixture of Channing Tindall and Quay Walker, the way they both played a little inside, a little out. And Channing was more of an edge rusher. But I think that... Why is he texting me? Wow. I think that Raylan Wilson's going to fight for time. I mean, this is a guy, they've got him at... He's not very tall. And this is not a super, like, tall... Do you really want your middle linebacker to be, like, 6'5"? But I think he's good. Tight ends. I skipped over tight ends. Did not see Pierce Spurlin. Don't know. I never spotted him. I don't know what the deal is with him. So I assume he's bad in this industry, that maybe he was dealing with something, maybe he was getting taped up, I don't know. But in the 12-ish minutes we were in there, did not see Pierce Spurlin. 1, Bowers, 2, Delp, 3, Lawson Lucky. That's your order. Spurlin was 4 last week, and I assume he would have been 4 again today, but it's Bowers is just, he's that guy, right? It's so much, like, the speed is unreal with him. Delp is a smooth route runner, right? He can turn really well. I think that he might be their best route runner in that tight end room, and I think he's going to be a big contributor. What will be interesting is who is that guy that they go to for blocking? Is it Pierce Spurlin? He's taller, but he's thinner. I think that you could potentially see a dip in Bowers' production because of maybe his need to block more. I think that's a curious thing that we should be looking at heading into the year. I think that's a possibility. Corners. They were doing a screen pass drill where, one of the QBs threw a screen to a receiver and they got a safety and a corner coming for a tackle. Not a full-on tackle, but still. Dalen Everett missed 2 tackles in the drill, and it was quickly. They only had about 3 reps, what I saw. And Dalen Everett missed 2 tackles, and it's interesting because last week it looks like he is going to be cornerback 2, opposite of Kamari Lassiter. So it's interesting to me. Missing a couple tackles. What I will say about Georgia's wide receiver room, shifty and fast. A lot of shifty and fast guys. So it's tough to tackle those guys. That's going to be good preparation for them. Safeties, I can't tell. I know that's a big question, is who's replacing Christopher Smith? Who's replacing him? David Daniel's going to play. I didn't really get to watch the safeties. I can't watch every group. There's only one dog poster there. So I don't know. I think that this team's interesting. That's kind of my update. I guess my biggest takeaway is, how do they replace Darnell Washington is a big one. I don't know how you replace that type of blocking. The reason I'm looking away a lot is I'm looking at these new numbers and I'm looking at this roster. That's why I'm looking away. I think you're good on receivers. I do. I think losing A.J. Mitchell sucks, but bringing those guys in, Dominic Lovett's going to play a lot, right? I think Ra will work his way into playing a lot. Dominic Lovett's going to play a lot, right? I think that's good for Ladd. I think that gives Ladd an opportunity to rest some. We know Ladd's dealt with injuries. But replacing Darnell is going to be interesting. I believe it'll end up being Ernest Green to replace Broderick Jones. I do think the outside linebacker room is thin. I've never been a huge Chaz Chambliss guy, and that's just what it is. So I don't know as far as he goes. But I'm trying to think if there's a group I didn't hit on. I think I hit on every group. So Carson Beck in the lead, according to me. According to me, Carson Beck's in the lead for this QB1 spot, and I think that's according to everybody. I think it'll be him. Down below, Dog Post, Red Zone, DoorDash, whatever you need. The book, Double Dogs, everything down below. Thanks.